We're back, y'all. You beautiful people. You beautiful, beautiful, beautiful people. Episode number whatever it is. In this one, we're talking about some of the unexpected benefits of running your own business. Things that you might not think about when you're thinking about getting into business, but that once you are into business and you're, somewhat successful with it, there's a host of benefits, really. I mean, just lifestyle benefits, other type things that just kind of increase your quality of life. There are good things about running a business besides just making money. And I thought it might be kind of interesting to talk about some of those. Scotty, I'll let you start with this one since you wrote the outline. Let's hear about some of your experiences. What are some of the unexpected benefits you've received from this whole business thing?
Gotcha. So, I mean, you mentioned lifestyle. I would say that I would put that in the category of expected benefits.
Expected benefits, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of why we're here, isn't it? But yeah, there's a lot of ones that maybe I didn't see coming. Nothing super crazy. If you really thought about it deeply, I'm sure you could come up with this own list yourself without having lived through it. But not necessarily things I was expecting, and they've been a nice little plus. In my wonderful outline here, which I could have definitely organized a little bit better in terms of order, but in no particular order, tax write-offs. Putting stuff on the business that otherwise you would have had to pay out of pocket is pretty awesome.
40% savings, baby.
Tax savings, indeed.
Basically, because I mean, you got to think if you put something on the business, you're basically paying 60% of what it would normally cost. Because out of pocket, you're using money that you've already paid tax on, and assuming a 40%, that's a pretty high tax rate. But we're being conservative when we're estimating these numbers. Then yeah, I mean, you're basically saving 40% because you don't have to pay taxes on it. Pretty cool.
Pretty cool indeed. Some of our travel, like anytime me and Schmitty meet up, that is an easily justifiable business expense right there. Whether we're in Tulum or a meeting in, I don't know.
That's the cool part too, is like it's a business expense. So like the Airbnb or the hotel or whatever, that's a business expense. But then the flights also a business expense. But we don't even. I mean, I don't think that we paid for anywhere. I don't know about you. I haven't paid for a flight in probably 2 years. All the points that we got from the good old Amex Gold Card, all the money that we put on Facebook ads, get 4 times points on that, and we got hella points. So I mean, flying for free, I'd say that's probably one of the best benefits, to be honest.
Yeah, flying for free and then getting getting all your travel or a lot of your travel 40% off because it's paid out of pre-tax money. That is definitely a huge benefit. I think also this will probably need some input from your end, but I think meals right now, if you go out to eat at a restaurant in the US, are 100% tax write offable.
I believe so, yeah. So I think this is something that Biden implemented this year. Trump, freaking Big Daddy Trump, took away the meals and entertainment category for for business expenses. Trump basically took that away. So you couldn't just be going and going out for lavish dinners and throwing it on the business and just calling it a day. That was apparently not kosher anymore. But now, because of Corona, and I would imagine this is in an effort to support local small businesses and restaurants and stuff. It's tax write-offable, writable offable, taxable off well writable. Yeah, you can put that on the business and it should be kosher. It should be all good. So I've definitely been doing a whole lot of that. Not every single meal, but a good bunch of them. A good bunch of them I've been putting on the biz, and yeah, it's nice. I mean, one, it doesn't come out of my personal expenses, and two, it's cheaper. For all intents and purposes. So very nice.
So, like, technically speaking, does it still have to be a business dinner, or can you go out with your girlfriend, with your parents, with whoever? No business. Like, if the IRS asks, do you have to argue that this was a business meeting, that was business discussed, or is it just whatever you go out to eat? If you own a business, you can put it on the business.
I think it's more so the first one. I think it's supposed to still be business related. But in my experience of going out to eat with people who own their own businesses, there's there's some leeway there. You know, you talk about business, and yeah, it's a business dinner. Yeah, that's a business dinner. You know, it's all good.
Yeah.
Not financial advice though.
Yeah, this is
Not for,
always the
not for-
problem of taking like write-off and tax advice from people who've never been audited. Like all this stuff works. Like you can put your Pornhub subscription on the business and it works perfectly until you get audited. Like you can do anything until you get audited because it's literally just like, oh, you made how much profit? Okay, we trust you. Here's your bill. It's only once you start digging into it and looking at it that you run into issues. I was, however, just reading a book the last few days about taxes and ecom, and the advice he had, although I'm sure he had a disclaimer that it's not advice. Um, the advice he had was to be aggressive with your expensing, and if basically he made the example of I think Microsoft having in their like shareholder letter or something or in their annual report, there's like 10 million or 100 million or whatever of aggressive tax deductions that they have to report how much aggressive tax deductions they have in there. And of course, that's public. Everyone can read that. The IRS can see that. That, like, according to themselves, they have 10 million that are aggressive or 100 million or whatever the number is. So people were saying in the discussion there was, wouldn't they just obviously audit them and then they'd lose out on money? But the argument he made was that 10 million are aggressive, but if actually audited, which is not guaranteed, like 5 million of them, they would probably win on like half of them at least, if not more. And they'll still end up on top by being aggressive, especially if they don't get audited, then you always win. But even if you do, you're likely going to end up on top because assuming that they're not all fake charges or whatever, most of them you're going to be able to defend. They might disagree with you on some. You might have to pay back tax at the end of the day on some of them, but you're going to win out by being aggressive. Was essentially what he was saying. Not tax advice, obviously.
Yeah, I'm gonna hold my tongue on that one. We'll keep it moving.
Yeah.
Other things that you can write off for taxes: any sort of courses or books that are related to your learning can fall under the continuing education category. That's a great one. Not quite as fun. It's not quite as fun to spend money on courses and books, but still good.
But again, like if you're just getting started, if you're working a day job and you're just getting started, you have to pay for all this out of after-tax money. Later, you don't. You save 40% right there.
Yeah, very true. And then the final thing you have here is part of your rent. That's also a good one. I need to figure out how I'm going to do that because it's just like a complicated situation with how I'm paying rent and like what accounts it's coming out of. Because I don't know, like my roommates are going to be paying me their portion of rent and then I'm paying the landlord. I don't know. It's a convoluted thing, but yeah, you can expense the area of your house that you consider your workspace, which I don't really know how much that actually ends up being because like if you're going by the book, it's probably going to be a pretty small area, but that's one thing, just another thing that you could potentially write off and save some money. So
yeah. So again, according to this book I was reading today, there's like a standard deduction, but you're probably going to be above the standard deduction if, I guess we probably wouldn't with just a desk. But what you could do is if you were shipping out orders yourself or if you were storing inventory, you could use your garage to store inventory and write off the entire garage. The only requirement there would be that if the IRS does actually check, and they would let you know of that ahead of time so that you could get your shit in order, you can also have an Xbox there. And it can't be like your gaming studio plus like 3 boxes. It would actually, the entire room would have to be used just for storage or whatever it is. But talk to your accountant.
Yeah, that being said, I think we move on. I'm sick and fucking tired of talking about taxes and accounting and stuff. Just the absolute worst.
I forgot that's not what the episode's about. I get too excited about this shit.
Yeah,
In another life,
Scotty
I'll
loves
be
the taxes, loves the accounting.
I'm gonna be a CPA in my next life, Schmitty.
Yeah, you can do that in this life if you want, man. I mean, that would probably help us out a lot.
Yeah, maybe.
besides that, I love this next point that you put out. You know, the topic of this episode is unexpected benefits of running your own business. So let's get back on track here. This is probably the best one. I think this is my favorite one. By far has been the most impactful in my own life, which is that by running your own business, you, especially if you're doing something online and you have some sort of a personal brand, you're on social media, especially Twitter, you will meet so many super cool people. It is insane. I mean, my life is like the people that I would consider like, you know, the people that I'm close with, half of those people are people that I met on Twitter. They're not even people that live in my area. But like, it's absolutely nuts. Like me and Scotty met on Twitter. We met another dude on Twitter, and then we ended up living together for 6 months. And I still live with the other dude. And we've been living together for 2 years. I mean, it's crazy. Like the limitations that are like in your physical space, like obviously you, for the most part, unless you're doing something like this, you're going to be friends with people who you've met in your local area. I'm friends with people in my local area, but I'm also friends with people all across the world. Like people that I would consider like, you know, to be good friends of mine, even though I don't see them, you know, maybe once or twice or 3 times a year, whatever it is. I mean, these are people that if I go to their city, I have a place to stay. If I go, you know, we plan trips together. Like we do awesome stuff together, and it's so much fun. I think that's probably the best because I've met people, you know, like, I mean, people that have made me money, people that are just like good friends. And I mean, I'm talking probably upwards of dozens of people, like multiple dozens of people that I have met in person who I originally met on Twitter. It is nuts. I mean, it's absolutely crazy.
Aren't you popular, Schmitty?
I mean, I suppose so. I mean, you can say the same exact thing too, man.
Yeah, you must be a pretty cool guy if all these people want to meet you, huh?
I'm cool online. It's
That's
also
thing,
this is also a random thing, but like, it can also help you meet people in your local area. Like I got approached by this dude who I was at the bar a couple weeks ago, and this dude was just like, "Yo, are you Nate? Like I think I saw you on Twitter." And I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "What's up, dude?" And you know, ended up like just shooting the show with him for a little bit, and then we're playing golf tomorrow. Like
that's funny.
Just
I remember that happened to you in Tulum as well.
Yeah. I mean, I get recognized like not all that often. It's not like an everyday thing or anything, which is, you know, if it was, I'd be fucking freaked the hell out. But yeah, I mean, it's like that's like a normal thing for me now. It's just like people.
Okay, big boy.
It's cool, man. It's especially when I'm drinking. I think it's extra cool whenever I'm drinking.
Yeah, you're a Z-list celebrity. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's 99% of the time dudes who are coming up to me and not girls. So.
Yeah, we really should pivot this brand.
Yeah, we should like, I don't know how we do that. Girls don't seem to be that interested in business.
Shit. So it be. I was gonna say, you know how there's kind of like a stigma about meeting people online? Like if you say, "Oh, like half my friends I met online," that's like, okay, you must be fucking weird as fuck.
Yeah.
But like,
that's how I feel whenever like people ask me, like, especially like this has happened so many times. I mean, you were there for some of this when you lived here. Like, you know, we'd have people over, we'd have a pregame or whatever, and then, you know, there'd be people over, like girls would be being like, "So how do you guys know each other?" Because like we're just the most random group of people. Like me, I'm actually from here, so like that makes sense. You're from fucking Switzerland. Andy's from Florida.
Like, and then why the fuck
do all of you guys meet up? And then we just have to be like, we met on Twitter, and they're like, "What?"
Yeah, that conversation is always followed by the night statue question. It's hilarious. But what I was gonna say is that there's a stigma about meeting people online. Like, oh, aren't you worried that people are gonna be super weird? And like, I haven't met anyone yet that was super weird. People are generally super fucking cool. Yeah.
It's literally the exact opposite, especially on Twitter, because you get such a good idea of who someone is based off of their tweets, even if they're an anonymous account. Like when I was in Florida like 2 weeks ago, I met Cold Email Wizard, who some of you guys might know on Twitter. And you know, he's an anonymous account, right? I didn't really know what he looked like or, you know, who he was as a person or anything. But like, you know, he was he was exactly who I expected him to be. like just a normal. I don't know if you'd say normal, but just like my definition of a normal dude, and he was super cool. And like I've literally never had a bad time hanging out with someone that I met on Twitter. I'm not gonna lie, at first it can be a little awkward. It can be a little awkward when you're like kind of first doing that meetup because you have so much information about this person, but you've never met them in person. And it's just like, it's not like oh, hey man, like you're just like meeting for the first time. It's like you already have so much shit to talk about. And it can be like, I don't know, it can be a little weird at first, but then it's like instant where like that connection just like happens. And then you're just like, yeah, you just met, but like it feels like you've known each other for fucking months or years.
Yeah, that's a super cool experience, honestly. Still remember when Andy and Jake pulled up to Colombia. That was a fucking highlight. Just like you're just hanging with boys, met for the first time in person that day, and it's just like you've been boys for fucking years. Because I guess you have.
Yeah, I mean it's cool. I mean the same thing with Logan Fitz. Like just met him in Florida as well, and like you're just already boys, man. Like it's super cool. And then it's also really cool too because then you have the types of conversations about like business and about like kind of like the I don't know, the inside jokes from Twitter and stuff that no one else would understand, like that I can't even talk to my like real life friends about.
Hashtag finance.
Hashtag finance. Yeah, exactly. Like shit like that. And dude, it's just I've literally never had a bad time meeting up with someone that I met online. It's literally every single time it is a blast.
Yeah. So for all you listening, this is what you do if you have no friends like me and Schmitty.
Very cool. Very cool. The next thing you have here is connections that pay off in random ways down the line. Yeah, that's definitely a big one. Best example of that is the masked deal story that I told in a previous knowledge drop. Just got a call one day from my buddy. He was like, "Hey man, you want in on this?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then a few months later, we're all walking away with a couple dozen grand for a small amount of work, and it's just like, yeah, it's freaking cool, man. It's freaking cool. I mean, I've met so many amazing people, and sometimes the connections don't pay off, and you just get a good friendship, but sometimes they actually do. Sometimes you make money together, and it's a cool thing.
Yeah. It's just that thing of like you have an issue, like you're in a foreign country, you get stuck somewhere, you tell someone about it, he's like, oh, I know a guy who knows the governor. Because like you're meeting a bunch of people and building connections, but they're also the people you meet are also doing the same thing. It's like a fucking pyramid scheme of networking and friendship and connections. It's like
something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Schmitty. How many handshakes do you think you're away from Trump or Biden or whatever? Like, how many phone calls?
A few.
Probably fewer than you think. Probably like 2.
Yeah.
I don't.
I mean, the first thing that came to mind is I know Tate has met Donald Trump Jr. and I like vaguely know Tate, so I don't know. That's the first thing that came to mind.
Is that 2 or 3? But yeah, it's certainly not far.
I mean, I don't have Tate on speed dial or anything, but I could message him on Twitter probably.
Yeah. Again, it's just one of those things. Like, can't hurt to know people who are doing shit and building stuff.
It is always a good thing. I mean, just generally speaking, like we could have an entire episode on that by itself. It's like just the benefit of surrounding yourself with people who are doing good things, like who are actually working to build things and are just like cool people. That can open so many doors for you. It's insane. And like, there's a lot of different ways that can happen. Like I've seen that in my town, in my city. The kind of traditional way that happens is, people who are very established here, old money who've been here for decades, whose families have been here for a long time. And, they just know everyone. And like, I'm not in that crowd. I'm not, my parents aren't old money or anything. I don't have that background, but, I know people who are, and they know a lot of valuable people.
Yeah, the only the only local connections you could have are like fucking drug dealers and shit. Like your buddies from high school are not going to have connections to anyone useful generally. Although even that's not true. A lot of them will via their parents.
Yeah, I mean, it entirely depends on who it is, honestly. What else, Scotty? What are some of the more other unexpected benefits? I think we wrap this up here pretty soon.
Shit, we still got it. outline to go through. Schmitty in a rush today. The other example I had here was my business partner Johnny getting his son to intern with me essentially. And I believe he mentioned the other day that he's also trying to get his other son, working with Sebastian, doing some stuff with him, or at least talking to him. It's like, I mean, that's just super cool. Like Johnny and Sebastian are in the same area, so like his sons are growing up seeing and being surrounded by and going to dinner with Sebastian, Nate, myself. Not to hype ourselves up, but like that's pretty fucking cool. Like if you're 15, 16, have no interest in business, but you just randomly through your dad, I guess, start meeting young dudes who are doing their own thing, that can open eyes and could lead to cool shit down the line.
I mean, I don't know how you could be that age and then you see Sebastian pull up to the restaurant in a new fucking 911, like just balling out, living life however he wants to, traveling, doing whatever he wants. I don't know how you could see that at a young age and that like not make an impression. Like that would that'd be awesome. Like I would love to. I wish I had that. Like I wish I had some sort of exposure to someone who was doing stuff like that because I can't even imagine how much quicker that would have gotten me on the path that I'm already on now.
I think you missed the most important point there because you see all that online. You see that on Instagram. You see it on YouTube. You see young guys making money, buying cool cars, etc. But what they're seeing that nobody else sees is the fact that Sebastian's just a normal dude.
Yeah.
Like they're gonna see this guy's young, this guy's got a cool car, but he's just a normal guy. He's just a normal guy who did the right things. Like it makes it so within reach. I think that's really the huge value that they're gonna get out of it.
Yeah, for sure.
And finally,
the best unexpected benefit.
This is a long block of text I wrote here.
The compounding of efforts makes it easier and easier to get ahead because we run out of control of it.
All right, so basically just like compounding of efforts. I was thinking about this today actually, and it's one of those things where people say, "Oh, it's so hard to get started," and it's true. It is hard to get started because
that's the hardest
starting
part.
From scratch with no momentum is hard. Once you have momentum going, life becomes easier and easier and easier. And this is kind of one of the unexpected benefits is that it does become easier. For example, because we run our own business, we have complete control of our time, where we are, etc. This allows us to pursue things, opportunities, do things that others can't. Perfect example of that is me spending the past 5 months in Mexico. If I was working a job, if I was in school, I couldn't have done that. I'd have been locked down in Switzerland, stuck in my apartment, and that would have sucked. But not only would it have sucked, it would also, I mean, I don't know if being in Mexico is going to lead to any opportunities, but probably it will. I met some really cool and really smart business people over there. I was exposed to interesting stuff. I learned a new language because of it. Is Spanish going to help me in business? Maybe, maybe not, but it's certainly more likely to help than not learning Spanish. And there's just all these things where maybe it helps, maybe it doesn't, but you meet a bunch of people that you wouldn't otherwise have met. You learn a language you otherwise wouldn't have met. You get exposed to.
You learn a language you otherwise wouldn't have met.
What's up?
Nothing. I'm joshing with you. Keep going.
Shit, lost my flow there, Schmitty. Schmitty trying to be funny today. Pretty sure I can imagine what you what you said there. But yeah, there's
you just said you might have met another language you wouldn't have met, and I was like, you meeting languages out here?
That's not what I thought you were gonna say. So yeah, essentially it's just because we're doing what we're doing, we end up having opportunities that you otherwise wouldn't have had, and that's pretty cool. That's like an unfair advantage that it just compounds upon itself. Which is not to shit on people who are just getting started. Everyone starts from scratch, but just know that once you get going, you end up getting lucky in weird ways.
Yeah. I mean, I just think that there's a principle there where like movement creates luck. The more that you're doing, the more likely you are to get lucky. You're never going to get lucky sitting on your hands doing nothing. Like you gotta create that movement. That movement is gonna create opportunity, and then you pounce on that opportunity, and then all of a sudden it seems like it was luck.
There you go. There you have it.
Well, there you go. Those are some of the things you can look forward to when all of you guys who are listening to this are eventually, of course, everyone's gonna make it. Everyone's gonna be successful. So this is what you can look forward to. This is what you can look forward to. So it's a life hack, man. It's a freaking life hack. I can't even imagine not running my own business because my life would just be so much worse. It really would. And like again, not to shit on anyone who's not running their own business yet, but like it's pretty solid. It's pretty solid stuff, and definitely something to be aspiring towards.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Schmidt man.
All right, Scott, man. We'll end it off here, and we'll talk to you guys in the next one.